Man, you better stop playing on my top, man. Y'all know it's sport, man. I'm 10 toes down. I hold it down, stay solid. They hate it. Forward to go troll, they quick to pray. I'm a young G, just skated my license.
I guess at some point after the fact, the state wants to take a proffer from you or have a discussion with you, ask you some questions about whatever that may be.
He decides to flip and become a cheese eater.
As a mother, how did that make you feel?
It's heartbreaking. It made me feel completely helpless.
Melly's reaction to Bortland accepting his plea deal was revealed in court. According to the media, Bortland took the plea deal. He also indicated that he is speaking by agreeing to a proposal. As part of his accessory after the fact penalty, he will serve 10 years plus 6 years on probation, less any time already served. Along with an email that was published, the court system readout states, "We are concerned about Mr. Henry's safety and would like to help him within the next 30 days, given his plea bargain and proffer agreement." In other words, the prosecution thinks Bortland will be found lacking in his cell block before he speaks out against Melly. Thus, from prison, Bortland sent a note.
Man, you better stop playing on my top, man. Y'all know it's sport, man. I'm 10 toes down. I hold it down, stay solid. They hate it. Forward to go troll, they quick to pray. I'm a young G, just skated my license. But I look like taking the deal that hurt my. I look like giving a about how y'all feel. I'm a young fly, be back to raise and prevail. Damn, why they want to take that L? Don't you know you can see the dirt for even speaking that L? The sport ain't a part of Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. YNW for L, never be stopped. Let's stop playing on my top like y'all know what the f going on, man. Hey, free me in, Melly, boy.
Scholars exposed Bortland's predicament, despite his efforts to defend himself against the charge of snitching. According to the judge, Bortland needs to provide evidence to support his plea of no contest on both charges. He must give a true explanation of how he was an accessory to the crime in order to establish that it was committed and to put pressure on Melly. Yes, ma'am is a stupid request, but he had to sing like Franklin instead.
People are upset. I said, this is a gunna plea. This is a gunna plea. This isn't a plea saying you have to tell or him, but this is a plea that you're going to have to provide all the details that they were missing to convict him. And that's why it's a gunna plea. Why do I say he signed a gunna plea? Because YNW Melly, and I watched the case, we covered it. YNW Melly's case is that, number one, you guys have not done a job to prove that this is actually, they have proved, but prove that this is a homicide with this person being the offender. Also, the accessory after the fact plea confirms that Bortland, that's kind of like almost like a sub part of a conspiracy, except you weren't with the conspiracy at first. You came in after the fact. What that proved is that they came in, what that proved is that Bortland worked with someone after he acknowledged that a took place in trying to cover it up. You hear what I just said? When pleading to an accessory to after the fact, you have to acknowledge that it happened and you assisted someone or in some way to cover the. Now, if Melly's statement is, how do we know that? And then secondly, how do we know who did it? Because they said it was a drive-by.
Since he will swear to the evacuation of Sack Chaser and Juvie, only Melly will stay at the scene if Bortland is not charged with the crime. However, it was ridiculous to hear in court that Bortland got the deal he did, and the judge appeared surprised. "I don't know how your lawyers pulled this off," he responded.
I understand that you want to resolve both cases today. Is that correct? Yes. And that resolution is an agreement you've reached with the state, the terms of which are as follows. Number one, in the 19 case, you're going to plead no contest to both counts of accessory after the fact. In the 23 case, you're going to plead no contest to all 4 counts as charged. In exchange for that, the state is going to null process, that is, drop the 2 first-degree. In exchange for that, I'm going to adjudicate you guilty on the 2 accessory counts as well as the tampering count. I'm going to sentence you to 10 years in Florida State Prison.
A renowned attorney commented saying, "Bortland is really fortunate to be reducing his possible 5 life sentences to just 6 years in prison and 6 years of probation." Lil Wayne and Kodak Black's attorney, Bradford Cohen, asserts that Bortland has accepted a plea deal in the Double M case.
All right, let's talk YNW Melly and YNW Bortlen. He is now doing the triple Lindy. For those youngsters that don't know what the triple Lindy is, it is when you do several flips off a high dive, and he will be flipping. He is going to be tell-all about anything he knows about the double case, and they will know if he's telling the truth or telling a lie when he gives his full quote-unquote confession as to what happened that evening. And that's what happens. A lot of times where guys are in the prison for 4 or 5 years awaiting trial and looking at a life sentence, and they're offered 10 years where they'll be home probably in another 3 years that he'll serve, he decides to flip and become a cheese eater. And that's what happens a lot of times on these cases, and I was expecting it to happen a lot sooner than it did. He held out for quite some time, but long story short is it looks like he's going to flip, and it makes the case on YNW Melly, depending on what he says, which I anticipate he'll say that YNW Melly is responsible.
Actually, according to 60699, Bortland recently accepted the plea deal he had reached with the prosecutors. Melly is finished. Years ago I warned you about all these rap guys, but when the judge told Bortland to talk to prosecutors, they all singled me out because they...
Lastly, and I want to make it very clear on the record, and it's unrelated to this negotiated change of plea, I guess at some point after the fact, the state wants to take a proffer from you or have a discussion with you, ask you some questions about whatever that may be. What I want you to understand, sir, is I guess that's part of this negotiated resolution, but your answers to any of those questions, whatever they might be, have no bearing on me and have no bearing on this negotiated resolution. In other words, the deal you've negotiated is the deal you've negotiated, and that's the ballgame. Do you understand all that, sir? Have you had enough time to talk to your lawyers about all that? They've answered all your questions? You're sure that that's what you want to do?
Offset's best friend, therefore, caught him red-handed when he sent a tweet about Melly, released the boy. He had been incarcerated for much too long. However, Bortland had few options once the court went over the lengthy...
Mr. Henry, do you understand the offer that the state is making to you? Okay, you're charged as follows. Counts 1 and 2 is the first degree with a firearm. Those are capital felonies, which means it's a mandatory life sentence. If the jury convicts you of count 1 or count 2 as charged, that's life in Florida State Prison. I have no discretion. Count 3 and count 4 are accessory after the fact to the first degree. Those are each first degree felony. The maximum penalty for each of those is 30 years in Florida State Prison. Count 1 is tampering with a witness in a capital felony. That is punishable by life in Florida State Prison. Is directing the activities of a criminal, that's a first degree felony punishable by life. So the maximum penalty there is also life in Florida State Prison. Count 5 is conspiracy to commit tampering. And again, as it's charged, that is also a life felony. As to all the charges that you're facing, the maximum possible penalties are as follows. Life in Florida State Prison, followed by 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 75 years in Florida State Prison.
The acceptance of a plea deal by Bortland will help convict Melly. All the questions about what really happened that night may be answered by Bortland. The first is that on the evening of the crime, Bortland was questioned and gave testimony about the circumstances. The officer asked Bortland if he knew who had done the crime.
By just telling me the truth, even if it's something that I don't want to hear, but I respect the truth rather than BS, okay? And it's a simple question. If you knew who did this, okay? You may or may not know. If you knew who did this, would you tell me? It's either a yes or no question. Answer.
Honestly?
Yeah, honestly. The truth. You wouldn't?
Because I wouldn't want to be a part of it. I wouldn't want to be.
The tone of Bortland's voice is neither yes nor no. He nods his head no instead, worried that the investigator may be able to discern whether Bortland was lying based on his body language. They realize, though, that Bortland never planned any of it. He just wants to get out of the case. As the feds already know, Melly was the primary suspect.
PC Gambino account asked him if he was okay, and his response was, "I did that," and placed a smiley face emoji.
And the next message from 10/26/2018 at 16:02 from Eastern Standard Time. The YNW Melly count says what?
After that, SHHHH.
Even though Melly is incarcerated, he is confident that he will be released because he ordered a $100,000.
I would assume
But still,
that he spent a lot of money on lawyers. Like an amount that would probably...
That kid spent a lot of money on a lot of things that shouldn't have been spent on.
Really? Like what else?
And cars, jewelry. And he's not even out to wear the jewelry. I'm like, why are you buying jewelry and you're not here to wear the jewelry?
No, definitely lawyers are probably the best thing you can spend
That's
money
what
on.
bro. But
Yeah.
he's good with lawyers, bro. Like, money ain't an issue for lawyers. Like, he's fine, but it's just like, there was a lot of stuff that should have went to lawyers that he didn't spend on lawyers. And I'm like, bro. And now it's like, he don't even want the chain no more.
But given that the federal government started its efforts after it was announced that Melly's double retrial had been rescheduled again, it's interesting how they convinced Bortland to accept a plea deal. The Court of Appeals granted a stay in the case, and his trial was rescheduled for January 2027. Since the trial was postponed, they also prevented communication between Melly and Bortland. A no-contact order has reportedly been in place for the Melly trial. The order completely changes Melly and Bortland. Keep separate. No speech, no legal discourse, no silence. This was the pivotal moment that moved Bortland closer to accepting a plea deal, because Melly and his associates were unable to convince him to stay strong. When Bortland realized he didn't want to live out the rest of his life in prison for the major offense, which he didn't even commit, he decided to accept the offer. Melly's attempt to hold Bortland accountable for the crime at his first trial, when his lawyer brought up Bortland's tendency to lie about everything, was another reason Bortland agreed.
So the right hand of Cortland Henry contained 0 particles characteristic of hot residue and 2 component particles. And the left hand contained 1 particle characteristic of hot residue and 1 2-component particle.
Okay. And can you explain to us what that means?
Basically, overall, there was hot residue present on the hands.
They blamed Bortland for the crime. He was the last person with sack chaser and juvie because he drove them to the hospital. An investigator's testimony in court revealed that Bortland had firearm powder on his hands, suggesting that he was present when it exploded. This was one concerning detail.
Co-defendant YNW Bortlen was booked into a Miami jail Monday night and is being held behind bars on an out-of-county warrant. We just confirmed the warrant is out of Broward County for witness tampering. The warrant obtained by Law and Crime Network states as follows. On or about April 10, 2023, continuing through and including July 22, 2023, Cortland Henry, aka Bortland, along with others, did unlawfully and knowingly engage in misleading conduct toward another person with the intent to cause or induce them to withhold testimony. The warrant continues the alleged witness had been summoned by the legal process to the jury trial of Jamel Dimmons, aka YNW Melly. The dates in the warrant are important. Jury selection for Melly started in mid-April, and a judge declared a mistrial on July 22nd, the same day the warrant claims Bortland allegedly tampered with the witness.
This is when Bortland realized what Melly was trying to do. When Bortland tweeted, "Mind games don't work on people like me," he was hinting at a deal. He added an emoji of a handshake as well. Furthermore, taking a plea deal only became more alluring once Bortland was accused of
Keep it real, this is sloppy. Bortland, how the f you gonna have the notebook of the jurors in your house? Holy sh! Like, come the f on. It's like doing a and having the surveillance tape in your DVD player or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, come on, bro. Like they raid your crib and the surveillance footage of the is in your DVD player. They be like, oh, okay, thank you, brother. This can't be at your crib.
This is when Bortland realized what Melly was trying to do. When Bortland tweeted, "Mind games don't work on people like me," he was hinting at a deal. He added an emoji of a handshake as well. Furthermore, taking a plea deal only became more alluring once Bortland was accused of.
So what you're also going to find out is while Mr. Devins is out there on the side of the road, 4 in the morning, 4:42 specifically, he sends a drop pin, digital homing beacon, to his current location, to one of his friends, Frederick Givens. Frederick Givens is also involved in the music industry, and he asked to be picked up. Frederick Givens, then about 11 minutes later, is sent another drop pin where Mr. Devins has moved a couple of meters. What you're going to find out as well, though, is these digital leashes, they have more than just phone calls.
Bortland will be able to relate his story and explain why Fredo Bank picked Melly up on the side of the road only a few minutes after the murder.
The use of the slap term, 5-point star, snake. He's saying he's YSL, he's hanging with him. And he puts up his YNW for life hashtag on it with Mr. Demons has the big B hand signs displayed.
Right, and see with individuals again, I'm assuming that's also the young thug. That's also unknown.
Yes.
Also important to your investigation, correct?
Yes.
Also publicly available for anyone to see and capture.
They are trying to make things worse for Melly by adding a street team motive for the crime as an aggravating element that, if allowed by the judge, enhances Melly's sentences. They talk about Melly's connection to a young criminal who is a member of the Red Street team.
Yes, sir. Against our advice, our client must proceed.
So you object to their request we need to determine this automatic stay?
Based upon what our client has instructed us.
When the feds tried to use this evidence, Melly became furious and began fighting with his own lawyers over it. In order to prevent his trial from being delayed, Melly wanted the evidence to be part of the case.
924-071. Call for an automatic stay while
they were aggravators. They go to membership and again, there are things that the jury would have to find before going into penalty.
Not aggravator, that's the death penalty. Aggravator, that's the enhancement itself, Your Honor. That's charged. He was charged in committing the for the further conviction, which is an aggravator in terms of the guilt.
Something that they would have to find by way of an interrogatory.
Yes.
I don't care, Melly was heard saying by others in the courtroom. I'm not a team player, but they can't prove that.
Did Vaughn really tell you that Melly told him that he was two friends?
He ain't come out and say, like, we got into an argument. And so, you know, if you know, when people could say something without saying it. And so he told me, like, once I posted what I posted, Vaughn was mad at me. Bro, why you put there, bro? Walk the bam. I'm like, you sitting up here, like, you know the love we got. You do this for us, but you gonna trust that his two friends? And he said, them was trying to extort him. And so I'm like, if they was trying to extort him, then why are you still around?
But a new witness will come forward to testify against Melly. According to an elderly O-Black member, Melly asked King Vaughn for advice on how to deal with people.
Mariah Hamilton is spending her first day at the Broward County Jail. She has no arrest record until now. U.S. Border Patrol agents arrested her at Miami International Airport Monday after she arrived on an international flight. Court records show Hamilton was ordered to testify in Demon's first trial in 2023.
As if Melly's predicament with Sack Chaser and Juvie wasn't already awful, Melly was also charged with witness tampering because the government said he ordered his ex-girlfriend Mariah to leave the country before his trial. He made Mariah leave the nation for 3 years because he was worried about what she might testify about at the trial, but she just returned to the United States.
State filing 6 new charges against Demons and 2 others who were allegedly involved. The charges include tampering with a witness, directing the activities of a criminal, solicitation or conspiracy to commit tampering, and unlawful use of a two-way communication device. Now, a couple of those charges actually carry a life in prison sentence if there's a conviction.
In exchange for her release, Mariah agreed to never leave the nation again and to testify in the upcoming Melly trial. In essence, she said that she didn't want to do it, but had no other choice. She penned, "Thank you to my village. I love you all. God's plan, not mine." On Mariah's iCloud account, they found disturbing evidence that Melly had forced her to not testify. The charge of witness tampering alone carries a life sentence, even if Melly is found not guilty of removing Sack Chaser and Juvie.
There was this kind of crazy way that Melly was communicating. He wasn't allowed to use the phone, but he was passing notes to people, and then this person's calling this person and then that person.
They like to me, they going through extreme measures, try to cover up or convince people not to testify, like Mariah mom. They was using code words like Rihanna and A$AP Rocky's baby mom.
Melly was interfering, so they had to do something about it. Thus, his jail phone privilege.
My son has not been convicted of anything, and even other inmates that have been convicted or anything, they have the right to use a telephone. They have a right to just to be allowed to write letters to their loved ones, to receive their mail. They hold his mail, they don't give it to him.
She followed up further by saying she's heartbroken that Melly is in this situation and feels helpless.
When you saw Melly's statement, just saying how he's been hurt, how he's scared for his life, as a mother, how did that make you feel?
It's heartbreaking. It made me feel completely helpless. Broward Sheriff's Office definitely needs to be investigated.
But Melly's mother feels that it's unfair that his communication has been cut off.
You saw Melly's statement, just saying how he's been hurt, how he's scared for his life. As a mother, how did that make you feel?
It's heartbreaking. It made me feel completely helpless. Broward Sheriff's Office definitely needs to be investigated. I mean, they are making up their own rules. We've tried to go to court about this situation. The judge really doesn't have any jurisdiction when it comes to the jail, because we actually had a hearing about the mistreatment of him, and the jail they make their own rules. And I don't think that's fair, because I know that they need to answer to someone too.
She continued by saying that she feels helpless and is heartbroken that Melly is in this situation.
The YNW Melly, I'm so happy he in jail getting mistreated. Yeah, I'm so happy he in jail getting mistreated, homie. Homie, when you take a life, homie, you ain't got a right to complain about a motherfucking thing about being mistreated when you done chose to play somebody.
Charleston, however, disclosed that this is the reality of Melly's.
Okay, so
then I met his mama while he was in.
Oh, okay.
I met his mom while he was in, and she real, bro. You know, she real.
She's stressed out. I heard she had a.
Yeah, she real, and I reached my hand out to him, cause I'm real. Yeah, I reached out to him, bro. I met his mom, and she a good woman, bro. And when I see them mamas like that, it remind me of what my mom was going through, bro.
In contrast, Bowie said he felt sorry for Melly's.
Melly still turned regardless of what happened this early morning. He's still out here being very positive. Turned still. Hey! No, still turned, regardless of what happened. You already know.
Bortland's backing of the Fed will be a crucial reaction. We shall learn the full reason why Melly and Bortland were dancing hours after the crime was committed. Not sad.
Excuse me, you're able to see? Yes? All right.
But the fact that Melly was captured on camera entering the car just 30 minutes before the incident only serves to bolster the evidence against him.
Leon Phillips.
Okay. And are you related to one of the kids in this case?
Yes, I am.
How so?
I'm his mother.
And who is that?
Christopher Thomas.
Ms. Phillips, did you see who entered into the occupants who entered into that gray Jeep?
Yes.
Do you recognize where your son entered that gray Jeep?
Yes.
Which seat, if you can identify for the jury?
He got in the back seat on the right-hand side.
Did you recognize the individual that got into the back seat on the left side, the rear driver's side?
Yes.
And who was that individual?
Janelle.
The direction of the travel from left to right in the car supports the claim that they originated from the back left seat where Melly was positioned, according to official court records. His existence was even confirmed by Juvie's